Hello and welcome to this episode of Cooking with Carter. I'm your host, DJ Carter. Happy to have everybody with us. We have a special guest today, Mr. Mike from Waynesboro, a good friend of mine that's decided to drop in and unfortunately not be on camera because he doesn't like the exposure. He sees dead people. Okay, no, not really, but maybe. We haven't determined that yet. So what we're going to do today, Mike's going to be asking questions and throwing his 5 cents in there. Maybe if we can get 10, maybe even $1. I'm not sure. I'm rambling, but I don't care. It's my show. I can do whatever the heck I want. Yay! Okay, so what we're going to do today is fried pork chops. If you remember, the last time we did pork chops was very early in season 1 when we had our yellow tinge attack of the light bulbs that didn't want to work. So the first thing I want to mention is my ingredients. Now, the pork chops that I have are bone-in. They are in the fridge already. We had to make space to get all 14 of them in the fridge. There is a lot. I want to go over the ingredients that I have out and what we're going to be doing. We have a standard egg wash here, which is 4 extra large eggs. We have 2% milk. We have a combination of Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. We have salt, pepper. We have complete seasoning. We have oregano, onion powder, garlic salt, and seasoned salt. Now you'll notice that I do use the same seasonings a lot, but it's because of my acquired taste. On shows before I've said, you can season however you want to according to how you want things to taste and how you want things to be. So what I'm going to go ahead and do first, which not a lot of people know about, some people do it this way, some don't. I'm going to prepare my wet mixture first. I'm going to break up my eggs.
Well, thank you, DJ, for that introduction. I was just wondering how many eggs are you putting in there?
That's actually, we got 4 here, 4 extra large. So I'm going to just whip these in a non-violent fashion. Alright, so the eggs have been whipped. And now they're in shape and are going to do exactly what I tell them to do. Okay.
Whatever you say, little man.
That's right. Eggs, listen! Alright, we'll start out simple. A little salt. A little pepper. About 1/8 of a teaspoon for each. A little complete seasoning. About the same, 1/8 of a teaspoon. Not quite as much onion powder because I don't want to taste onion in my pork chops, unfortunately. Okay. Now, oregano is one of those seasonings I mentioned before that brings out flavor very well. I do like oregano. Tap about 1/8 of a teaspoon there. Maybe 1/4. Kind of eyeball that. And believe it or not, I do measure things, just not a lot. A little more garlic. About 1/2 of a teaspoon. And finally, about 1/2 a teaspoon of seasoned salt. I have done this so much that I don't take out my measuring spoon and go, that's exactly 1/8 of a teaspoon. That's exactly 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/2 of a teaspoon. Really depends on what you want to do, how you want to do it. Now, I went ahead and seasoned this, okay, and I want to show you a trick. To help thin this out, I'm going to actually slide the bowl to the middle of the table, and I'm going to actually have Max film this as I do it. Before I stir, just to show you how to kind of get this to spread out a little bit, I'm going to take my about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of 2% milk here, and I'm just going to pour this in very slowly over top of the seasonings. Now you notice some of the seasonings are still clumped together, but not as much, because pouring the milk in second helped to thin it out. It's still going to stick. We're going to put that bowl back there. Marshall will take care of that. You may hear water running periodically throughout the episode. We're just getting things ready and preparing, so if you do hear that, it's okay. Alright, you don't have to really stir very hard to get this to blend in. Now there you can see that is the milk and egg. That's your wet mixture, which your pork chops are going to go first. Now, I want to explain a couple things on dippage, okay? What they mean by a double dip. Now, I'm sure you know double means twice because we're not stupid in the American world. We're very intelligent. We know that. Okay? What you're going to do, what I normally do is I go dip into the wet, dip into the dry. Now, some will come back, dip into the wet again, and dip into the dry again. You can do that, and what it puts is an extra coating on that. So you've got a different style. Some like their pork chops or hamburgers or, whatever you want to bread, more crunchy or more thick than a thin breading. So that's it for the wet mixture. Going to do the dry mixture here. Now the dry mixture, because it's in a huge container, you don't need, whoa, almost made a mistake there. The top was loose. Don't need a lot, but you're going to need more than an eighth or a fourth of a teaspoon. So what I like to do, because this is going on the outside, I'm going to kind of season this all the way around. Now, if I had to judge that, I would say that's about 2.5 teaspoons. And possibly that could be equivalent to maybe a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half, because the tablespoon, of course, is the bigger of the two. All right, so we've got the complete seasoning in there now. Not going to tighten the top all the way. Sit that over there. Going to go with our good friend Mr. Garlic Salt. Okay, about the same thing, about 2 to 2.5 tablespoons. Was going to help you out there, Max. Didn't know if you could reach it. 2.5 tablespoons of garlic salt. The onion powder, again, I very rarely use onion powder in pork chops, but I'm going to use just a bit. Maybe about a half of a tablespoon there. Again, it's in the egg, so you don't want don't want to use too much. Oregano. I love oregano. Oregano for me is a flavor enhancer. Couple of shakes, about a half a tablespoon to a tablespoon there. On the more pungent ingredients, you really don't need a whole hell of a lot. I said a bad word, that's okay. Don't think the sponsors are going to get me, because guess what? We don't have any yet, being the operative word.
Oh, the hopeful word.
And you might have to delete that out later.
Might, but I don't think we're going to. I don't think people mind hell too much.
So it's pretty much just be experimental and seeing what kind of seasons to taste.
That's exactly correct. That's correct. A lot of times people are worried about exactly how much. Cooking to me is not an exact science. Cooking is going to be what you like. Now, here's a unique thing. In Italian breadcrumbs, you don't see a lot of pepper. Now, I'm putting pepper in here to actually enhance the other seasonings. Now, the way to do this, then you just fold it. Come in, all around. Now, before I drop the pork chops into these, I will season this flour mixture, because flour and breadcrumb mixture, a second time, because there is so much. So we'll do the same thing. I'm not going to do that on camera because I just did it here, and that's just tedious to show you the same thing over again. But I've got that mixed in pretty well. You don't have to go super crazy with it. I do want to mention one thing before we cut to break. The one thing that I did not get a chance to show you, when we put the breadcrumb mixture in, when I do a flour and breadcrumb mixture, I never do flour first. I always do my breadcrumb first because the texture of the breadcrumb, that crunchiness of the breadcrumb, I want to shine through. So I always have more of a breadcrumb mixture than a flour mixture. I usually do 3 to 2 or 4 to 2, which I mean 4 scoops breadcrumb, 2 scoops flour, 4 scoops breadcrumb, 3 scoops of flour. Screams! Yes! Ah! Okay, there we go. So that was not, but anyway. So it's very simple to do. Once you, the flour scoop that I use is that a half a cup, Max, or is that a cup in there? I believe that's a half a cup, I think.
Any more flour on the cameraman? I think it's a half.
That'd be a half.
Yeah, it's a half.
Okay, I use a half a cup flour scoop. Sorry I didn't have that out right away. Wanted to just confirm for you guys as the flour just about fell off the microwave, but Max saved it in the nick of time.
Yep.
So when we come back, we're going to take out our massive 14 counts of pork chops, which are bone-in thick cut. And we will show you how to season these, and we will begin our lovely mixture of wet to dry. Now also, I will tell you, get your skillet heated at 300 degrees. Make sure that you've got about close to 2 cups of oil in your skillet, just enough to have them covered. You don't have to go super crazy, because if they don't cover all the way, that's all right. We're gonna let that heat up 300. Take about 10 to 15 minutes. When we come back, we'll show you how this is done. We'll be back with Mike, Max, Marshall, and the rest of the gang in a few minutes. All right, welcome back. I did want to mention one thing. When it comes to the oil and the skillet and everything like that, like I said before we left for break, mine is heated at 300. I use about 2 cups of oil in this skillet. That's going to vary depending on the size of the skillet that you use. Actually, Marshall brought that up off camera, and I wanted to make sure that I brought it up as well. Now, what I've done is I've done a technique called layering, and I've got several layers of pork chops here, and I have not seasoned the top ones yet. Okay, so we're gonna season these.
So what's the point of layering?
Well, with layering, you basically, and I'll show you here with what you're going to do, so that you don't have to season several times. And let's say, for instance, that, I put just a little bit too much garlic salt on that pork chop. Now, one of the techniques with layering is, and one of the things that helps, is as a pork chop dries or dries out, once the seasoning has been put on, the seasoning will stick.
Do that first.
Okay. Now, once that seasoning sticks, and you say, oh man, I've got too much on there, when you flip these over, some of that seasoning that you put too much of on there will come off and go on to your next pork chop and keep that seasoned, as well as take a lot of your excess off. Okay. There's that. Oregano. And finally, the onion powder. Now, because I did not use a lot of onion in the seasoning of the egg wash and the dry rub, I am going to use just a tad bit more on each of the pork chops here. So, now, the benefit of layering, which Mike just asked about, I'm going to show you. The one that I used, I'm going to take it, I'm going to shake it, and I'm going to dredge it across the others. Do the same. And then do the same here. And do the same here. Now, I know your question. Okay, what about the next layer of pork chops down? Will that over season the next pork chop down? I don't think so. I've never actually had it happen. I guess technically, yes, it could. Okay, oh, good, the cook made a mistake. There it is. That's going to happen. It really depends on how much seasoning you put on. Now, one of the questions I get is, why do you season so much? I don't like a lot of garlic. I don't like a lot of oregano, blah, 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 that kind of thing. What do you want to do? It really depends on, you can make this your own. You can just use salt and pepper. You don't have to, I don't consider this complicated, because one of the things that Mike brought up off camera was, my mom cooks with this. I'm very used to this. That's exactly one of the things that I cook as I grew up and as I was taught. So that's what we do. So
you cook to what fits your own taste.
Exactly. And it doesn't make it, a complicated scenario of, how much of this do I have to use? How hard is this? What are we doing here? Because my mom particularly does not like a lot of garlic. She can't use it because it does something to her stomach. It doesn't set well. So to substitute garlic in taste, you can do seasoned salt. You can do thyme. You can do sage, oregano, different things that have that a different texture and a better option. I'm actually gonna move this one over a little bit.
Now I know some people like to marinate their seasonings in their meats overnight. Is that possible with
That's a
pork
good
chops?
question. That's a great question. Actually, marinating. Now that's where you kind of get into this scenario of not necessarily complicated, but you want to think about what your marinades are, because marinating is going to have a long-lasting flavor no matter what seasoning you put on your pork chops or your meat. You can almost, a lot of times, overpower your marinade depending on what you use. A very simple marinade, I've used a little bit of ranch, a little bit of honey mustard, and a little bit of barbecue sauce. Whisk that together and just let it marinate overnight. And it's going to, basically, the way I tell when my marinade's ready is two things. That's a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. It actually, the way it adheres to the meat, okay, when you pick it up and it doesn't run, it means that meat has taken that evaporation and it has soaked it in there. The other thing is, how does the meat smell? My other senses, when it comes to cooking, have really helped me to determine when things are not, are what, where they need to be. With the marinade, one of the biggest senses that I use is touch, because how does the meat feel? Is it dry? Is it wet? Does it does it soak your fingers well when you touch the meat? Does it come off onto your fingers? You're gonna know if the marinade is ready or not, as far as how that works. So these are seasoned. We're actually going to get our seasonings out of the way here, which Max is taking care of off camera, kind of. But when we come back, it'll be just a short break. We're going to show you how to do these. I'm going to marinate most of these. I'm going to do a couple of these on camera, but most of them I'm going to do off. And we'll have the pork chops frying. You want to let these fry for about 12 minutes on each side, 300. Take them out. They'll be golden brown. When we come back, I'm going to put my last 4 in and show you what they look like. Okay, so we'll come back periodically. Some will be in, and we'll show you how to get it done. We'll be back in just a minute on Cooking with Carter. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cooking with Carter. I want to get you to take a look at the pork chops that are done here. We're going to go ahead and take these out. I also have a couple that have not been done yet, so what we've got is we've got a smaller platter to just sit these on, and you can see that beautiful brown color. Now, off camera, Max had asked a question about the darkened area on the pork chop there. There is a little bit of marrow in that bone, which when it cooks and cooks down, it will form that black area on the pork chop there. So we're going to take this one out here. This is the one I will test and show on camera in just a minute. But I want to go ahead and I want to put these in for you while we get the last one out here. Now, basically all I'm going to do the easiest way. And the reason we use this container is because you really don't have to flip the pork chop at all. You just reach down, pick it up, shake off the excess. In the flour it goes. Cameraman will do a little sprinkle. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the corner of the bone, shake off the excess, turn it over, just like that. Max will do another little sprinkle of flour there. Now the good thing about soaking it in that egg wash is you really don't have to press down. Okay, he'll pick it up and we'll go over to the skillet. He will drop it in, and you don't want to let that fall just real easy. And one quick thing that I did not mention earlier, and I do apologize for this mistake. It wasn't really a mistake. We had started. I wanted to cook those a little slower, but set your skillet to 350. I know it's a little late in the episode, and you probably already cooked them at 300. You can do that. You just got to flip them a little more frequently is the only problem. You can't let them stay on one side for too long. We'll go ahead and do this last one. In the egg wash. Make sure and get both sides. You can still flip it just this way if you want to. You don't have to. Get you to move the spoon there, Max. There's the excess. Right on in the top. I'll do it the same way Max did it before. Little sprinkle. Get Max to flip it this time. Shake off the excess. Okay. And in that last pork chop goes. Spoons out of the way. And there's the last one. So what you're going to do, you can do 10 to 12. I did for 8, and then I did 8 on each side, and then I did another 2. So I did the 10 to 12. You can cook those as long as you desire for your doneness that you want. Let me go ahead and show you the doneness of this on camera. We'll get our egg batter and our plate out of the way. A little bit of this and see how she tastes. Helps if I actually cut a piece of meat and not the bone.
Yeah, just the fat side.
Sorry about that. And Max is actually holding the plate for me because she is trying to slide. Let you see the doneness of that. Okay, and you can have just a little bit of pink in there. You don't have to have a lot, but I like mine completely done. You can see there's no pink. That's well seasoned, Mike. Take a cut of that. Have a bite on camera. Tell me what you think.
Oh yeah, sounds good.
Man, that is good. The difference in that 300 and 350, when you cook it at 350, the seasonings tend to shine through a little more. Winter, summer, fall, those garlic, salt, things like that. What do you think?
Tastes great. Yep.
All
Good
right.
job.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cooking with Carter. We'll see you next week. But remember, the meals we make are worth the wait. Take care.